Welcome back to our Let's Play of Storm of Zehir. Once again, we just cleaned out at the Baneite Enclave there, which is a fairly hard dungeon, and just in the context of this game at least. There isn't anything truly impossible in this, unless you decide to try and fight one of many before you leave Samurai. Our next stop is this abandoned mine, but I'm going to try and get some, it doesn't look like I'm going to be able to rest first, so I'm just going to charge right in. We're kind of running low on spells, but this isn't a really hard area. Assuming that we don't, get all stuck in the door. Now, the knockdown spam gets pretty annoying after a while, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to have a druid in the party for the spell Foundation of Stone, which makes you immune to knockdown. Very handy. But unfortunately, she doesn't have spell mantles, which makes fights like that Baneite fight a lot harder. The point of this area? A chest with a bunch of trap recipes. I don't actually have anyone who can craft traps, so I'm just going to meet you back out on the map once I clean up. Now, as I mentioned before, I don't want to set up the caravans in this area until I've really cleaned everything out, so that I don't have to wander around in this area until I have everything done, so that I don't have to rebuild all my caravans. So we'll talk about it. It's going to take 800 trade bars and 8 units of ore, so I'm going to have to look at that. Mostly I just want to get rest up. And then we'll continue with our, exploration of the countryside. Well, these trolls are going to bother us, but they won't bother us for 220 gold. So I think I'll just pay the money and save and ignore them. There's some strange gnomes over there. If you've played the original game, you know who those strange gnomes are, and you know how utterly useless they are. And no, there are no Wenderstamen. But there are, somewhere out here, a couple of other little areas to visit. This is the ford just north of Thunder Tree, so like this burial barrow here, we'll go examine that and see if we can find anything. Oh, but first we're going to find the Eldrith Veluthra camp. The game never explains this all that well, but they're sort of elven racists, more or less. I'm actually kind of curious what will happen. Normally they attack you, but in this case we're all elves too. I'm assuming that they're still going to attack me. Yep, they are. They are not particularly challenging. Though they did manage to kill my wizard. Oh well. I'll just have to get him right back up again. And down he goes again. I'll just leave him down for now. I guess the fight's basically over. You see this minus 38 here? If he hits minus 38, he dies. So I have 17 rounds left to finish this fight before I really have to heal him. But may as well get started on it. And I'll see you back on the map. Our next stop is this little burial barrow we just found. So let's head down in there. And there are a couple of ghasts. Nothing particularly dangerous, though they do have this stun effect. And I guess some whites as well. But more or less just some minor undead. Again, the whites, will level drain you, but I really don't care that much because I'm not even going to have to restore it. So, unfortunately, here's another one of our arcane nexi, but we don't have an uncharged attenuator. So we're going to have to come back here at some point, and I'll do that off screen. But that's not all there is in this area, and I'm just going to see, well, yeah, there's a trap. And once you start looting the graves, which, which probably shouldn't be doing it for, being good people, but they're dead. They don't need it. There's this recipe for a headband of intellect plus 6, which isn't a great item, but is useful. It's not too important really for my mage because, well, he's more of an archer than a mage, but it does give him a couple extra spell casting, so we'll build that eventually. Picking it up, however, wakes up this vampire who will die pretty quickly. It took us more than one round to kill him. And there's another vampire over here. And there's some boots. These are boots of reflexes, which I don't really care about that much. But since people aren't all wearing boots, there's a couple other recipes. So I'll clean up and meet you back out on the map. So I was going to head back to Neverwinter and pick up another thing for my arcane attenuator, but look what I came across is a random encounter. I've never actually seen this before, so let's see what happens. And, we can come. And we can basically pick a fight with it. Let's do it. So, here we are with our blue dragon. It's a little bigger than the other dragons we fought, but at least we get an attack bonus against it. We'll cast a couple more buffs. If it's not going to charge us, we might as well take advantage of it. How about that? Alright, let's do it. Yeah, dangerous dragon. Hey, maybe it'll drop something fun. Nope. Oh well. I went back to Neverwinter, turned in the attenuator, went back out to the cave, picked up the attenuator again, and then went back to Neverwinter and dropped off yet another attenuator. And the Knoll now sells a nice library of spells, so I've picked up some so that my mage has something to learn. And while we've been traipsing about in the wilderness, mostly lost, our company's been at work, and I just had she just gave me 30,000 trade bars. So, I'm going to exchange maybe, I don't know, 29,000 of those for gold. And I now have over 500,000 gold. We are now at the point where money is no longer of relevance. I also picked up the elemental defense enchantments from the Than Knoll merchant. So I'm going to just spend some time making a whole new set of equipment for my characters. First things first, I'm going to go on a bit of shopping spree now that Jacoby has a lot of new stuff for sale. I'm not actually going to bother giving a list. I'll go over the equipment I've made and bought later, as soon as I've done fixing it up more or less. Just to summarize what I've done with my equipment, I've cast essentially AC bonuses on everything as before, and I have +3 AC bonuses, so my ACs are much better than before. I've also cast electrical and fire and all the other basic resistances at the 10 level on at least one piece of equipment on each character. So every character takes 10 less elemental damage regardless of source. I've also bought essentially anything that Jacoby had that was even vaguely useful. This Eldritch Knight chain shirt is obviously a major improvement over some of the other equipment I've been wearing. And just going through, I've got her some adamantine. I'll switch her to mithril once I start getting some dex bonuses, but there really aren't that many dex bonuses available. I've spent nearly 500,000 gold on this, so I actually am probably not going to be able to afford everything at at New Leaf, which isn't a big deal because I now have not infinite money, but more than enough money to even consider going through the game. And I'll continue to make money just by walking around on the map. So we're pretty much set on that account. I've also cast some dodge bonuses on some of these items that are useful in inventory. For some reason they decided to make this give dodge AC, which means that it stacks, and you can have up to 20 AC bonus that way. I've only done it with 2, I have 2 more items, partially just because it's sort of abusive, and also partially because I want to cast +4s on those rather than +3, and since it's the third benefit to the item, that's the last thing you can do with it, so I don't want to lose that potential. I've also made a second bow for each of my archer characters, using this damage bonus versus evil effect. It's not quite as effective for just general use, but so many of the important enemies are evil that it's worth casting. I'm still carrying around my old bows, so if I run into an enemy that's not evil, that's difficult, I can just switch up for the old-fashioned ones. They're only +1, and I'll probably eventually make better weapons for my characters, but these are plenty good enough to get through the game, and certainly good enough for the time being. To get started on this Sating the Sensate quest, I'm going to take a quick trip back to Samurok. To do so, you just talk to the gnome in the teleporter room. Here we are back at Tempest Fury. We're just here to pick up an arcane nexus. Easy enough. The second reason we've come here is to come to Torek, at the far northeast to pick up an item for our Sating the Sensate quest. Torek has unusual resources, which the Sensate wants, so we'll buy ourselves a salt. We only need 1. There's no point in getting more. I'm going to buy a couple other things while I'm here. But that's all for this episode. Why am I standing in front of one of many? Well, maybe you'll find out next time on Let's Play Storm of Zehir.